we talk about China's overcapacity in new energy industries, there is heat debate about this topic, and they say China floods global market with cheap products, and they say China's electronic products is a threat to local market. So the question is, does China's capacity excessive in new energy industries or insufficient to the global demand?
So the China overcapacity narrative emerged just days ahead of the recent visit by US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen to China. I think this is a classic case of crying sour grapes. The narrative of overcapacity is used to justify the US-led West's slow adoption rates and higher production costs in clean energy technology sectors, masking their inability to compete with China on cost, innovation, and production efficiency. By discrediting China's industrial strategies, the US aims to maintain its technological supremacy and influence in global economic structures. So, when people say China has overcapacity, it sounds like China is just pumping out solar panels and EVs for no reason. But that's not the case. China is stepping up production because there is a huge demand of clean energy solutions in the larger global, the global South and the developing countries. So these solutions are booming not just in China, but all over the world. For example, think about a place like Brazil, India, or countries in Africa and Latin America, where lots of folks are getting access to affordable solar energy for the first time, thanks to lower cost panels made in China. It's not about overproducing, it's about preparing to meet the needs of not just today, but also tomorrow. No doubt China's rapid advancement in the clean energy sector has led to significant growth in production capacities. Today, China has more than 80%, I believe, around 80% or more than 80% of the world's solar manufacturing capacity. It accounts for nearly close to 60% of global electric vehicle sales. China also has more lithium-ion battery production capacity than the rest of the world, with nearly 900 gigawatt hours of manufacturing capacity. That accounts for about 77% of the global output. So it is home to 6 of the world's 10 biggest battery makers as well. The US calls this overcapacity. China, however, views its expansion in these technologies as essential not only for domestic economic growth and environmental sustainability, but also as a pivotal contribution to global green initiatives. Yes.
Okay, I get all your points because the clean energy and the new energy are needed to respond to the climate change to respond to many urgent world issues. So since there is no excessive capacity in new energy industries, so why does the US-led West accuse China on this topic, and what's the real intention behind the blame?
Right. So let's be real here. When the West or the US talks about China's overcapacity, what's often behind that is a mix of protectionism and a bit of envy. It's like when someone is winning a race and instead of trying to catch up, you say their shoes are too bouncy. So it's easier to throw barriers like tariffs and criticize than to compete head on. And it's not just about competition, it's about influence. By framing China's growth as a problem, there's an attempt to keep the old guard on top of the tech and economic food chain. The overcapacity accusations from the West, particularly the US, often stems from economic, political, and strategic interest. The US and some European countries perceive China's growing capabilities and market share as threats to their own industries and economic interests. So labeling China's production capabilities as overcapacity serves as a pretext for implementing protective measures such as tariffs and trade barriers. From a Chinese perspective, however, this term is a misrepresentation that's being used by the US to veil competitive insecurities and maintaining geopolitical and economic dominance. The concept of overcapacity implies wasteful production. But in the context of global sustainability and energy needs, China's increased production capabilities are actually a proactive move towards fulfilling the increasing global demand for clean energy solutions. So we have recently seen how some of the Chinese companies are being targeted in the US as well as in the in European countries. Uh, all of it stems from basically the insecurity of China's rise that is predominant in the political and economic discourse in the West these days. So this whole idea of overcapacity at the moment is a bogey.
And since we talk about this overcapacity, and naturally we talk about the China-US relations. And just a couple of days after Janet Yellen's visit to China, Tony Blinken comes to China. But there is an interesting phenomenon. For one thing, the high-level U.S. officials visit China frequently, and but for another, the U.S. held the first meeting with Philippines and Japan, and they also threatened to impose tariff on Chinese products. So where will the China-US relations go, and what do you think?
China-US relations are a very complex subject. It is going through a lot of turbulence lately. But talk about China's overcapacity is again dominating these visits lately, particularly Secretary Yellen's visit and now Secretary Blinken's visit. So from the US side, it seems they are a bit worried about competition. They are concerned that China's ramped up production might shake up global markets. But from China's point of view, it's about pushing forward with innovation and providing green solutions that the world really needs. China is framing this conversation as a chance to promote peace and mutual respect in international relations, hoping to push back against what it sees as the US's tendency to overstep its bounds. Looking ahead, the relationship could go a few ways. If both sides can respect each other's space and work together on big global issues like climate change and tech cooperation, we could see some solid teamwork. But it's also an election year in the US. So political pressures could stir up tougher stances against China. Ultimately, how these two global giants manage their differences and cooperate on shared challenges will shape not just their relationship, but also have a big impact globally. Will they compete or will they collaborate? That's the big question. And in all this, people to people connections like cultural exchanges could really help smooth things over. So we are at a crossroads, and the world's watching to see which path these two will take.